inviting me. I love doing stuff like this because I hardly ever get to talk to colleagues from other disciplines, and it's just a wonderful opportunity. I'm going to share with you a PowerPoint, and I had initially planned to stop after PowerPoint slides and bring us back and talk, but I think I'm going to be careful with time because I think that that could tend to hold us off. So I'm going to move through the PowerPoint. It's not long, and then, but it is created by an English faculty member, so be prepared for it to be terrible. So you're going to have bad images with poor resolution and way, way too much text. That's what we do because we're bad at PowerPoint, but hopefully we can, like, you know, talk about these ideas because they will all be there with lots of text. And then at the end, we'll come back and have a chat then. So I'm going to share my screen and start the PowerPoint. Okay, so I did interpret communication a little liberally. So you'll see as we move along that this isn't just necessarily about, you know, calling somebody on the phone. We'll see what happens. So the first topic that I thought I would mention, which many of us have probably already heard of, and maybe we don't often think of it as applying to academia, because I think it's a big, like, sort of hot topic in office speak, definitely for people who I think are overwhelmed by like a lot of email, which we happen to be as well. And it's called the Ohio method. And basically it stands for you only handle it once. And obviously you can't do this with every possible thing. But the more that you can do it, in my experience, the better off you are in terms of especially communicating with students, because oftentimes it's not even just the content of your message, it's the fact that you reply that makes a student feel like they are in communication with someone, anyone, even if the student is not your advisee, right? So what I said is, you know, respond immediately. If you can't, you can't. And I understand. This is probably going against the grain and asking you to do things outside of those parameters that you've set in your syllabus. So if you have parameters in your syllabus that say that you're not available over email after 5 p.m., that I understand that. But during the hours of, say, 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., if you can respond immediately with the smallest possible email, just to let students know that you are listening and also to market for yourself, I just find that this just streamlines everything. The second part of this is that if you are using Blackboard, and I was just telling Cindy, I didn't use Blackboard until this summer. I've been at Bridgewater now, I think 11 years, and I really did not care about Blackboard. Sorry, teaching and technology people. But now I love Blackboard. I mean, you know, as much as you can love Blackboard. And I have learned that there are so many perks to Blackboard. And one of them is that you can send an email from Blackboard, and when it arrives in the student's email, and I have a really bad fuzzy image right here for you to see that you can't see, but basically the reason I did this screenshot is to show you that Blackboard actually codes an email, right? So students are more likely to open email when they're coded with the course caption that they're actually in. So instead of you sending the email directly from your email, if you send it from Blackboard, not only do you absolutely have the right email for the students all the time, but it codes it and students are likely to open it. It's just one of those weird things. I gave these examples of the kinds of really reductive email responses. Don't let this annoy you. But for example, you know, you might say something like, thanks for this email. Will you please remind me to respond tomorrow? I know it sounds terrible, but we've earned it. We have most of the time higher degrees that have put us in a position where we can ask our students to do this. I try to be very respectful, but there are times when I know I can't get to that message, but I want that student to know that I'm thinking about them. And I just say, please email me back. And then just other little examples. I copy my department chair constantly. Sorry, Anne, if you end up watching this, but you know, you can feel free to redirect. And if people can't get back in touch, they can't. But the more that you can respond in an immediate way, the quicker you're going to turn over email. It's like a weird thing. And then you're done. And then it's like a hot potato out of your hands. All right, here's the next one. Oh, hold on. This isn't in the right order. That's okay. We can go here next, even though this wasn't supposed to be next. You're going to use, if you do Blackboard and you do asynchronous, you're going to use various ways to build community and create communication with students. I actually experimented while most of my colleagues, I would say probably 98% of the English department did their courses synchronously over Zoom. I decided that I would experiment with how I wanted to do this. So I created an asynchronous format, and I found that doing this Monday update idea, you may have heard this float around, doing it through video is actually really helpful because I can look on Screencast-O-Matic and see who's watched it. I can keep it simple, 5 to 10 minutes, but I can reassure them verbally as well as things I would do over email. I don't just use this opportunity to relay content, even though I do give them some framework for discussion. I also just say things that, you know, you guys are doing wonderful, like great discussion board posts. And sometimes I'll pull out a couple of discussion board posts. I don't name names in these videos, but I might say, you know, that you guys especially brought up this great topic about Freud and, you know, what Freud was saying about the uncanny. I was so impressed. And I'll say something like that and toss it in there. I think that any uplifting you can do always seems to work well for students and helps them to feel tethered, especially in an asynchronous course. So discussion board and in-class options, you guys probably already know this, but I would just say that creating multiple ways, like not just one way, but lots of different ways for students to ask you questions often makes them feel like there is a place for them when they otherwise wouldn't fit. So if you only have like the peer forum on Blackboard, sometimes they won't participate in that because they're not really sure. But I created these different things, and this is a, you know, teaching and technology recommendation and something that I think everybody does. But one is a peer forum, one is an advising discussion board link, and the other is a coffee house chat. They're really interchangeable, but students might feel more comfortable posting in one over the other. And I do find that I do get reception, like people do actually participate if there's more possibility. The other thing is just that I open my classes every class with the option to tell me what's going on in your life, and not just, you know, necessarily BSU related, but is there something that you need to share with the group, something we need to talk about, thoughts or feelings, first 5 minutes of class, and let folks talk about that. I find that it doesn't actually take away from content. I find that it actually helps students focus more. And it's holistic advising, which the university loves. All right. Yeah, this one is scary, but I think there's a payoff if you do it the right way. Use social media. So I gave you an example here of the Facebook page that I built for Irish Studies. Students who are, we used to have a Celtic club. I don't know what has happened now with COVID, but students who were like in the Celtic club would then join this page on Facebook, like this page on Facebook, and then they would get constant notifications like down here of events that are, you know, sponsored by Irish Studies at the university. So it's not just coming to them through email, but through social media. I wanted to say that I know a lot of folks use Twitter in their classes, and they use it in a really easy, smooth way. Just asking students to use that platform to rethink character relationships or rethink historical movements and to tweet about them. So you're limited in Twitter to a certain number of characters. It has to be very brief. And it teaches students to pull out main ideas. So it's a great way to emphasize how communication works, and then also to feel like you can give students opportunities to communicate in ways that they might not otherwise. Some students may not feel comfortable, you know, emailing or posting in a discussion board, but you can learn about their personality through how they do something through Twitter. Optional small group Zoom meetings when you're teaching asynchronously is awesome. And I'm sure everybody does that. I just give them the opportunity to tell me when they'd like to meet, open up, you know, that day or that time, and see if we can just have a chat. And it doesn't have to be about, you know, the class per se. It can be just about ideas that they're having, and it doesn't have to go the full time. But if I see that there are a couple students that are having similar ideas, and I think, wow, these students might really benefit from meeting together as a group, I might reach out to them and ask them if they want to. And I've had really good experience with this. I feel like it keeps students invested in the class, but it also creates accessibility because it's not mandatory. So students that don't want to use this option of the class can still participate asynchronously, can still use the discussion board, but if they want to meet in small groups, they can as well. Oh, apparently I have a bonus idea. Let me make sure that oh, good. Okay, let's get back to the bonus idea. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know about the syllabus template because it's hard to find. Cindy and I were just talking about this because it doesn't stand out, but it's on the Teaching and Technology Center intranet page, and it's a sample syllabus, and you can use it not just for virtual classes, you can use it for all classes. It's very long and it starts with a table of content, and this is the way the intranet page looks, and it's you click something over here and it brings you to digital syllabus design, and then you click on this syllabus template. I just pulled out 2 pages of it to show you because a lot of this stuff I think we feel overwhelmed by when we start to teach online, especially, and they've got it all figured out for you. So they've put together a rubric. Rubrics are hard to figure out for discussion board posts, I think. And this helps you to better communicate with your students on your syllabus when you have this kind of stuff mapped out, and it's much easier to work from a template. And then also their course policies are all hyperlinked. So if students are looking for the BSU handbook or they're looking for the academic integrity policy, they can link to it from your Blackboard page. And then obviously also they have it there in front of them if you're circulating it in paper somehow in the future when the apocalypse is over. But I think the syllabus template is actually really helpful. Again, before this sort of crisis that we're having, I don't know that I would have used it because I would have felt, you know, some proprietary issues with my syllabus and felt like it was my thing. But now I feel like what this does is really streamline information in ways that I didn't really think about before. So I'm pleased that it existed and I'm pleased that I used it. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm going to stop sharing now. It was a very brief PowerPoint. And you guys tell me what questions you have or if you have any comments or anything you'd like to talk about. Hi, Paul.
We're a small enough group, so feel free to unmute or just ask any questions you have.
Hi, Alan. That was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks. You don't have to talk. I didn't mean to call you out that way.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, I teach a course. It always was an online course anyway in Irish Studies, but obviously we've had to adapt more because into the Zoom world. So what's helped me a lot is I now have guest lecturers in my class now. It's not mandatory because it always was an online class, so I can't make them, because they've all got different schedules. A lot of them are non-traditional students, but I tried it last term. I had 3 different lectures, and we had about 6 or 7 people on it. And I did an introductory one myself 2 weeks ago. And if I get 6 or 7 people, I'm happy. It's all recorded anyway, but I just want to bring in a variety of different people for the course that bring in different perspectives. And I think it's great for the students. And I love what Ellen says, like that, just that takeaway I went online in another university. And I love that, what you said about just asking people to check in at the start of the class. There's no pressure. They don't have to, but it's all, it's personalizing it for them. And we have to try even harder in the online world because we're missing that, person to person contact. So I think that's really important. And I've introduced once a semester that I do a one-on-one virtually like this with people. And it's just great to have and I make that mandatory, a 15-minute check-in with them, because you really learn a lot about the student and what they're struggling with. And, and I asked them to do an introductory part to the syllabus, just tell us about themselves and their background. And that really helps, break the ice, so to speak, and help people share with each other,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, Anna, I like your idea of that screen-o-matic 5 to 10 minutes before the class. I think that's a good suggestion. What I noticed is I did some small video clips because my course is more kind of a little bit mathematical. So I'm trying to kind of split it into small videos and then put it into screen-o-matic. I can notice how many students checked those videos. So I also want to make this suggestion to Cindy. So for this Zoom session, maybe you also could think about how to put it into screen-o-matic and then trying to figure out how many people really get a chance to watch the video. I found that's very powerful, but and I have heard from you, you said that you not only can check how many people watched it, you also know who watched it.
Well, you have to do a setting on Blackboard to do that. So you have to make it like worth points for that to happen. Like everything has to be, I don't do that all the time, but everything has to go through the grade book for that to happen. But if you make something like that a graded activity, then you can see who's done it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that
I
makes
don't always do it because sometimes I just want to see the numbers on Screencast-O-Matic. But if you make it a graded activity, then you can see who's watched it because it's part of their grade.
Do you mind to show us quickly from a share screen
Sure, hold on.
how it looks like? I'm just very curious because I never did that. I only check the Screen-O-Matic.
I don't think that hold on a second. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second just so I can get my screen in order and figure out where I am.
I found those are very powerful. One thing is that I noticed that, for example, right now we send the students emails a lot, right? And we assume students always look at their emails. But actually, most likely, not just talking about our students, even our colleagues, maybe even didn't read our email at all. Sometimes it didn't respond quickly. Somehow, it's just, I think Anna hit some good points. Sometimes we don't know what the answer is, so we delay the process. Sometimes maybe could be quickly respond that I'm thinking about it, I will let you know the answer. And on another side is, I think most of us right now kind of got lots of information on the internet, email, videos. Now we kind of feel so I somehow I just feel like, should I click on that email or not?
Right, I know, I totally hear you. But I think like, if you can get yourself into progress, not perfection, right? Even if you aren't writing what you think are perfect emails, if you just respond, students care. I tend to err on the side of informality because it doesn't bother me. I don't feel that I need students to always, there are times when they send email that are completely inappropriate. And I will say, look, friend, you need to maybe do this a little differently. But there are other times when I just roll with it because I feel like in the grand scheme, there are other ways that I can help to teach them about rhetoric than over email. And I know that they're emailing just like they're texting. So I think if I reply quickly, then they reply quickly, and we tend to have a back and forth. I'm going to share my screen then really quickly and show you this option, although you probably know it already. This is what I'm thinking. But if you look here, so this is part of the needs grading right here in Blackboard. If you click needs grading, then what comes up are all of the things, right? And here's the categories. So I actually made discussion questions or discussion format worth points, which not everybody does because you grade it differently. But you can go into, see how you have the option for assignment? You can go into assignment and you can actually post your Screencast-O-Matic videos and have the students log in and watch them as part of that assignment or respond in some way as part of that assignment. And then it'll pop up here in the Grade Center. And you don't necessarily have to grade it all. It's just here for you to see, and I tell them that it just comes up. So you have to kind of like go backwards through Blackboard and also sometimes I think post in different places. But the Grade Center is helpful to look at that, and you can pull it up in different ways. You probably know this already, though. I think I'm an amateur in Blackboard, and most people know a lot more than me. So, I asked Cindy, but she agreed that I was somehow qualified for this presentation. So we'll hope that that's true.
Yeah, I think we all know different strategies. So I'm glad that we have a chance to discuss.
Yeah, totally.
So Ellen, I have a question. One of the frequent pieces we've heard from whether you're administrator, faculty, staff, or student is just the volume of email and how truly unbearable it has been in this remote environment. You mentioned the value of responding quickly, which I totally understand. How do you keep track of the flood that's coming in there, just to be able to see what's important and what needs action?
I don't always. So first of all, if you were looking at, I've been at Bridgewater 11 years. If you're looking at my email, Cindy, unless I've cleaned out my deleted file, which periodically I will do, or unless teaching and technology has come to my office and had an intervention, which I think they did in 1 year, and I can't remember.
I had one of those.
Everything is still there, right? I do delete things, but it's rare that I go to the delete folder and then empty it. What I do is if I read something and I don't have time, which is crazy, but let's just say I don't have time to delete it, or I know that it's not important, I leave it, read. But if something I need to return back to, I just do the little click as unread after I read it. And then, you can reorganize your filters according to what's read and unread if you want to. So I do use that, mark it as unread thing. I don't find flags work as best for my mind, but unread does. So if I read something and I'm like, oh, I can't, hit it right now, I will mark it as unread. I have tons of files that I used to back when I was like an assistant professor and I thought it was important that I file all my email. I did that. I don't do that anymore. I use the search function in email a ton. So I'll search everything in email and I feel bad because sometimes I have to think through like creatively how this email could, I know it's there from 5 years ago, but what could it be titled under? And I will creatively search for it. So I use the search function a lot. So you're not alone, you guys, if this is what you do. But I do think marking something as unread will help sometimes. It tricks your brain.
Nadia, I see your hand.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Nadia. Thanks for doing this. This is really helpful. I just wanted to say that I agree with you about the flooding of emails. It's pretty ridiculous, especially if you have other emails that you have to stay on top of every other day or every day. So what I found is working for me is I created a folder called Student Emails, Spring 2021. And as soon as I get an email from a student, if I can't read it, it goes right in that folder. And then later on in the day that way I'm finding I'm not losing student emails in the flood of other emails that are coming in. So it works for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's I think that is a wonderful plan. You have much more organization, I think, than for me. It's all time oriented and time sensitive. And if I did what you did, I would forget about it. So I've taught myself.
Right there. Yeah.
No, I know it's there. I hear you. Listen,
at me.
I can flag something. Nadia, you are clearly more aware. You're just a more aware person. I can flag it. I can forward it to my other email account. I do that sometimes. And still the only thing that seems to really work for me is to mark it as unread or respond immediately. That's where I am,
I just tell my students, if you don't get a response within 24 hours, try it again.
That's good. That's really a great thing to put on your syllabus.
Yeah. I had a question for you to go way back to something you said in the beginning about just opening up with the first 5 minutes of class, which is I usually jump on 10 minutes before class, but at 11 o'clock we start. But I have a question for you because I'm curious about how this would work. How would you, after 5 minutes, how do you handle that particularly loquacious student who wants to go on and on and on? Do you just cut them off and say, let's talk? I mean, because I can think of a couple of students right now I would have to cut off, which is usually if they're that needy that they're going on and on, that's not that's not a great experience for them. But anyway, what do you think?
I use a lot of humor. So I would probably say something like, Nadia, that is like such a thing you're dealing with. It's like crazy. While I think everybody might want to talk to you more about this, why don't we hang out after class and I will chat with you after, and let's just go back to our framework of class. And then afterwards, we're going to handle that problem.
Perfect. I'm going to steal that. Just as I just want to tell you a funny thing that happened yesterday. I always stay after class and I always have a few students who just, they need some clarification. Sometimes they just want to chat. But yesterday I had a student who was waiting patiently because I had 5 or 6 students. And finally, he was the last one. I said, okay, how can I help you? And he said, oh, no, I don't need help. I just thought maybe somebody else would want to talk to me after class. It was very funny.
That's nice. It's like everybody wants some type of social connection. Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm gonna offer his ears again. But it suggested to me that students are so anxious, so hungry for a sense of community more than ever right now. And it's possible. I think we can do it. Sometimes I stumble into stuff, but I think it's possible. and
No,
so
I
necessary.
think it's possible too. And Paul, I know that you usually teach your classes asynchronously.
Yep,
So,
yep.
not many of us used to do that before the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And now maybe we're learning how to do it more. I mean, I think my goal in life right now, Nadia, is to try to figure out how to make asynchronous classes communal and accessible.
Mhm,
Because I
mhm.
don't think that Zoom is the future. I think it will be the intermittent possibility future. We will use it periodically, but we can't live through it the way we're doing right now. And so I'm curious in how we can take the asynchronous format and make it better and maybe rethink it entirely. You know, I'm not really sure. I'm playing around with it to see what I can do. Like I was going to say, in terms of Screencast-O-Matic, one of the things I really love about Screencast-O-Matic is you can do voice to text subtitles. And in Blackboard, it prints it on the side. So it's not like it just pops up. It prints it, an actual transcript of it. I don't go back and change it. So sometimes it does say crazy things, but I don't have time to go back and change it. But usually contextually as a student, you can figure it out. But that becomes a transcript of that lecture and students can save that. So there are ways, I think, of, in terms of communication, of creating accessibility. What we want to do is make that accessibility more communal and enjoyable for our students. So we have to find a way, I think, to do that. I think that some of that comes, and I only learned this recently, like you guys are seeing a complete makeover. It's like I went on some TV show. I only learned recently, like, to think this way, but I think that it does help. It does begin, and I'm going to like talk the academic speak with really, I guess, mapping out those course outcomes, you know, and I'm eye rolling because my syllabi didn't have course outcomes. I mean, I was like, what? I mean, maybe like sort of a course outcome, but then I realized like there are real like course outcomes. And when you start to think about that a little bit, that helps students also feel like they understand how to participate in this course. So like for me, for example, I'm teaching a writing intensive class asynchronously, right? And many of my colleagues would be like, that's crazy. Like, why would you teach writing intensive asynchronously? To me, it makes perfect sense because students have to depend on discussion boards. And so they create an archive of writing and they're writing their thoughts instead of speaking their thoughts, which means that they get used to doing it more. And then they get more confident writing sentences and expressing themselves like in their actual writing. So to me, the discussion board is a no-brainer for a writing intensive class, but how do you build that community? You know, much of it is through making sure that you're opening up those avenues of expression in any way you can, like as many different opportunities, right? So I've got Screencast-O-Matic, I've got the discussion board posts, I've got the optional meetings, I've got the other posts, right? Like do you want to do some coffee house chat? Do you want to do some advising? Just anything that helps to like switch hit so that they can be in lots of different places and feel like this is fun for them. Also, the first page in Blackboard sucks. That opening page, I just get rid of it every time. I feel like that opening page is like an anxiety producer. It's got 15 little boxes with 15 little links and it says announcements and things you've missed and like things pop up. And I feel like it, for me as a faculty member, I just hate it. So I always get rid of that page. And the first page of my Blackboard page is just my syllabus. Sorry, that was really long.
No, that was good. I always use Blackboard, or did for the last few years, even with a traditional class, because I think you can really do a lot of good work for the students that are, you know, naturally quiet or shy or introverted. Use it. I love the discussion page. I think the discussion page, you can really elaborate on what you've talked about, what you've discussed in class, and they'll be willing to share so much and make it mandatory that they have to respond to each other's comments, because I think that's where a lot of the real learning goes on. And I'm always filling up I use discussion and content the most. Content is where I will put links to lectures. I'm always informing them and then reminding them, you know, about anything at all that's related to my course. That's so any music events that are playing, you know, lectures, in discussions about poets in Ireland. I'm always telling them. I don't have much success in getting them to go to it, but I'm all, you know, if somebody does show at it and they're in a black, you know, they're in a Zoom meeting that, you know, with a poet from Ireland, I'm all over that. I'm just really rewarding them. And then I'll tell the other students, not to shame anybody, but like, oh, it was great that such and such attended this lecture, you know. And I think I think people need to be always rewarded and reaffirm with them when they're, you know, when they're really going the extra mile and doing the work. So I think there's a place. The world is changing, as we know now, and I think teaching is going to be a combination of, you know, the human contact, but the technology as well. And they're not diametrically opposed or anything. We just have to see how we can best utilize them for the students and the teachers learning. And I think this is happening now. Even things like this is great for me to, when I saw this, and like you, I would do the same. I would go to emails, try to respond them right away, because then they're done. I like your analogy of the hot potato. But then I do unmark a lot of emails to leave them unread, and I'll go back to them, or I'll send them to another email, because one way or the other I'm going to find them. But I don't delete anything. People think I've been seeing, but I can find things. So I don't delete unless it's a junk email or whatever. But I just keep it all in there until anybody else tells me not to. And just, I think, just to keep on top of it. And students need to know, like, you know, if they respond to them right away, it makes them feel validated. I think that's very important. If you let it go 48 hours, they're thinking, you don't care about me, you know. So I just set good boundaries, like, you know, if you let them know, if you don't answer emails on Saturday, don't answer emails on a Saturday. But I think it's really important, particularly in this world, that you do constantly keep in contact and reinforce that with them. That's really important. And know that you know, any question is a good question. I'm like, you don't want to see an evaluation afterwards, such and such said this and didn't do that. You want to know at the time. I'm like, it's an open door, please. Any question is a good question. Ask me it, because, you know, I'm going to learn something. You're going to learn something. So I think just to keep that as a two-way process, it's really important, students.
Paul,
Yeah.
can I in here? I agree with you. Thank you for all those comments. Plus,
Thank you.
I love hearing you speak. It's such a treat. What was I going to say then? But about the Blackboard discussions, I find, though I didn't use them as much last semester, but I heard from students that when I did, they really enjoyed it. So I'm posting a weekly question now. It's a 2x2. So they have a weekly question, and I've invited them. I'm setting up the first few, but now the door's open for any students who want to contribute a question, because I'm seeing Blackboard discussion as sort of their space. And what I'm seeing, it's 2x2. They have, for every question, they have to respond a minimum of 2 paragraphs and respond to 2 classmates. And so the feedback that they're giving each other right now is pretty remarkable. It's wonderful. So it's not all on me to keep on affirming their work and giving them, you know, pats on the back, because they're doing that for each other now, which is really
Nadia, are these for synchronous or asynchronous classes?
I'm synchronous.
Okay, so you're also using the Blackboard discussion.
Oh, yeah. We meet every Tuesday, Thursday, and then a question is posted on Friday that's due the following Friday. And it's working really well, because I'm trying to have as much contact, not just with me, but with each other throughout the semester. And I find the discussion board is really, really helping do that. And what they're saying to each other, I mean, they're also affirming and enthusiastic and positive with each other, which is really, really important. That's part of building a community in a classroom, I think. And they're doing it, definitely.
Yeah.
I want to add, has anyone tried Flipgrid for video discussions?
No.
So it's another tool, just flipgrid.com. It's used in a range of educational levels, but I tried it for the first time last semester with my grad students and found the feedback that you just described as, you know, affirming, and it expanded greatly when they were doing it in video settings. You know, their responses back to their classmates seemed even more sincere. That really helped build the community in an asynchronous course.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, though, Cindy. I just want to say, it sounds like, Nadia, that's like working so well for you, the Friday thing. I think that the concern that we've had at Bridgewater recently is that some faculty are also asking students to like communicate on discussion boards like 4 or 5 days a week and also do a synchronous class. And students are, I know, but Blackboard has made some of us kind of crazy, right? So we've like, those of us who didn't know a lot about Blackboard, suddenly it's like, ooh, the world is our oyster. Like, look at all this crazy stuff we can do on Blackboard. And our poor students are like, seriously? Like, is this asynchronous or synchronous? Like, what is it, teacher? Like, you're talking to me and then I have to go and respond to 15 discussion board posts. So like, I do think that your plan is awesome, because you're right to create community through tethering those things. I do a similar thing in my graduate class, but like the Flipgrid Cindy, like I would only use that in asynchronous, you know, like I probably wouldn't use, oh, in Screencast-O-Matic, I'm only using that in asynchronous, you know, I'm not using those things in my synchronous class, but I am still posting, like I'm still setting up a Blackboard page for them, which is a huge step for me. It's clear that I have recovered. It's huge.
Yeah, and I only added the Flipgrid idea mid-course because I thought they were getting too overwhelmed with too much writing. And I was like, let's try it differently this time. Don't write your discussion board posts, do them by video. And try this tool. And now
Love
next
that.
time I do this, I'm going to do it again.
Where did
Fascinating.
we learn about Flipboard?
It's called Flipgrid.
Flipgrid.
Let me check the TT.
It's there. You muted yourself, Cindy. You know that though. Yeah, it's there. It's on the teaching and technology page.
Okay.
Great.
But you can also just Google it, probably, Nadia, and find it there.
Good. Thank you.
I would say that, like, Blackboard for me, I'm not going back. I'm going to use it even for my in-person classes whenever that resumes, because it has created things that I didn't think through fully. Teaching a class right now at the graduate level that for the first half of the semester, we're reading James Joyce's novel Ulysses, which is, you know, Paul knows this. It's a historically complicated text. And so students tend to get overwhelmed, and this is a synchronous class. And so I often I try to like really bring it down, right? So we're, using a really inexpensive version of the text and whatever. But in the notes for the text, which are longer than the actual text, there's maps for the city of Dublin, because, that's the sort of setting for this book. And so the students wanted me to put those maps up on the Blackboard page. And I thought, that's a brilliant idea. I will just, take my phone, I'll scan it in, I'll upload it. And then I was like, what? Like, seriously, I need to like take pictures of a regular book. This is the age of technology. I'm going to figure this out. And so then I was like, no, I can just link, because it's Blackboard, to Michael Grodin's page where he's already done this. And I can show them, here are the maps, here are the whatever. And then I can create an opportunity for them to like see that on Blackboard, since which I would never do if I was teaching in person. But meanwhile, like this is, otherwise I would have to send them an email after class with a link to it and say, here's your link, and they would lose it in their thousands of emails that they got. This is how I operated. You guys probably know way better, which is why, again, I don't think I'm qualified to be giving this right now. But I used to just like email, and now I'm like, oh my God, it can live in Blackboard. And then it can live in Blackboard eternally, because I just course copy. You guys see Paul's like, yeah, duh. And it's the promised land for me.
Yeah.
Really.
You're like the queen of Blackboard now.
The Blackboard should be paying me. Blackboard should be paying me. I hope that Bridgewater doesn't ever change their platform. If that happens, I'm gonna cry. It can't do it, because then what will we do? How will we import? What will happen? I'm already thinking about it. Yeah.
So you had said that certain pieces of technology you only would use when you're asynchronous, and at one point in time the same, but I found last semester and this semester, even those students that I'm meeting in person found it a lot easier if I organized the stuff on Blackboard a little bit better. And so they have gone out of their way to give me feedback, because every week I will leave some sort of a recording. So I do use Screencast-O-Matic a lot, and it's only, 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Remember, this is due, this was good last week, blah, 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 blah. And every time I go in terms of, okay, let's do a check, how's everything going? And that's just a 2-minute quiz on Blackboard. And they always say, keep going with that, keep going with that. And these are kids that I'm meeting face-to-face, unless they have to, come in electronically.
Yeah. Kathleen, do you go by Kathleen? Kathy? Okay. Is it okay. Kathy, totally. So here's another like wonder of the world of Blackboard, is that you can actually build into that all of these assessment and feedback things that you would never use normally. Like, I love your idea of being able to create a quiz that's really just a temperature taker, like a quiz about how they're doing. I was gonna offer to share my screen, but I'm thinking again that everybody knows more about this than I do. But I actually put together a survey so that during the middle of, because I wanted to present on this last semester at OTL, because I wanted to see if I could pull it off, like teaching a writing intensive class asynchronously, because, you know, I thought maybe it would just totally crash and burn. And so I did a survey with my students, and it allowed me to create, like, I can't remember the name of that survey where you just pick the number, but it's like got a name, and it, you know, it's already built into Blackboard. So I could just do 10 questions, ask them about the synchronous as well as the asynchronous components of the course, and get like a feeling of what they thought. And I felt like that gave them, it made them, gave them more confidence, because they were able to give me feedback. Like, I really think that the ability to, and so maybe that could be added into student communication on one level, Cindy, is that like, the more we can give them the opportunity to give us feedback in some way. And I love that idea of using the quiz function, Kathy, it's smart. The more we can do that, I do feel like they feel more confident and connected, because they feel like they're giving to the class, you know?
So after I asked them to do that, the following week, I asked them to rate their class participation. So they get it and they give,
Right.
and then I get to respond. But it's really fast, and you can take the information really quickly and then tell those students that I'm not sure I quite agree with your evaluation of your class participation.
I mean, it sounds like we're, you know, this is getting us into the, you know, anti-racist grading, because there's a lot of contract grading is very similar to this kind of thing. And, you know, and I'm not saying it, I don't think anyone's version of contract grading needs to be the same. I think everybody can do things differently, but because I still use letter grades and points, but I also do some of what you do, Kathy, in the sense that I give them the opportunity to tell me what they think they've earned and then talk about it sometimes. I think that's a great thing.
I had the opportunity to review some of the raw data from the student survey from last semester. And what Kathy just described is a great example where there's so many students that are starving for feedback, and it's so difficult to give active feedback in this environment that, you know, even that piece, even if it's only one piece of their work for you, you're giving them an opportunity to feel seen and to connect with you, and that you're noticing what they're doing in class. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, that's great. I seriously, I think we should talk about the, like Blackboard through the back door. That's what we should have. We need a Blackboard through the back door where everyone talks about their tricks, like using the quiz to like gauge like student feeling is not something I would have thought about. But now, because I mean, there's like a legit way to build a quiz. You guys know this. I didn't know this. Like, you can build an actual quiz in there. So how cool to like make that a thing, because then you can link it to see who's responded, and, you know, you can just give them points. They love that. Here, 10 points. You took my quiz about your feelings. You know, it's great. Yes, I love it.
Yeah, so I think that's a good idea, but on the other side, I think somehow the assessment or evaluation should be anonymous. So I don't know whether if we put into the quiz and also have some grade associated with it, how
Yes.
that.
So here's what happens.
Yeah.
Here's what keeps it anonymous. So it's not 100% anonymous. There's no way to do that. Believe me, I went back and forth with the teaching and technology people. I went to one of their colloquiums because, you know, I'm now addicted to it. So it's like I go to the meeting every week, and then, like I said, I need to build this survey into my class, but I need to see who's taken it, but I need it to be anonymous. And they were like, The way that it happens is you can see when someone's taken the survey, but you just don't know which survey is theirs. So you can set it up so it's so that you can see who's done it. So you can make sure everybody's done it. And that's how you give them credit, right? But then you don't know, you kind of have to make sure that you wait until the cutoff date to go and look at them. Because if you go and look like the first time somebody responds, then you'll know, oh, you know, that was Mary who gave me that 1 instead of that 5. You know, obviously it's on you. But like, if you can wait until the cutoff date, then you don't know who said what. And so it's anonymous within that small group. But I know you're a math person, so I'm pretty sure you understand this way better than I do, and probably get that this is not really anonymous. So I understand. I just think like it's one way. It's one way.
Yeah.
So can you still respond to a student?
If it's, oh, you mean on a quiz or on a survey?
Not really.
Not on a survey. Like the way that I did the survey, there's no responding. You don't want to, because that's the anonymity of
I
it.
know. Yeah.
But on the quiz function, I don't know, Kathy, if you can do it you must be able to. Yeah.
Just like you can on a test. And you can, there's ways you can download the information. And granted, the students know that if it's on Blackboard, you can figure it out and track, because they would say to you, I'll bet you give me 5 minutes in there and I'll figure out who it is. So they're not gonna believe you if you say. But if you really want the information anonymously, you can just download it. It's one of the functions. You can pull all that information off into an Excel-like looking sheet, and you don't know who it is. So, and that's the easiest way to read some of it anyways, because I don't want to spend 5 hours. I just want to see, this one doesn't work, that one there, I'm not posting that the right way. Okay, I can fix that.
To do that though, I think what we were saying, you'd have to definitely separate it from the grade function. Because I think
no, you can put it on there because you can list it as just complete, incomplete.
Oh,
the grade, you can put it as a grade of complete, incomplete, and that's all it says.
Okay, good.
This is also a good time for me to remind everyone that the OTL has feedback tools available. We have a group of student pedagogical partners that will also assist you in feedback. Our teaching fellows will also come to your class in the version that looks like right now. And we have a feedback tool that we can work with your students on as well. So if you're interested in that, let me know. All right, in the interest of time, I think we've reached the end of our hour together. That went really quickly. I want to let you know that I put some links in the chat, if you haven't seen it, to a few of the TTC resources, as well as a couple other pieces. If you want to save the chat and just keep these links, if you just go to the ellipsis in the upper right hand corner of the chat box, you can hit save chat and have the links of your very own. Before we go, any parting questions or parting words?
Feel free to
just like.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Megan.
Oh, no, sorry. I'd just like to say thank you. I pulled a lot of great resources. I'm in advising, so I don't have a class that I'm teaching or anything, but I've learned a lot about Blackboard, have an idea in mind of how we could utilize it in the Academic Achievement Center with our advising students. And then some of the other communication pieces were really helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Megan, do you reach out directly to faculty when you have questions?
It depends. If it's something that the student is asking me that they can relate to you, then yes. A lot of times I'll contact the chair of the department if it's more like an overall program question. I haven't yet. I'm only in my first year really, so I'm still kind of diving in and have had not quite as much interaction with my students quite yet. So I'm still getting used to that whole relay. But yes, it is something that is helpful for us to contact with you if it is directly something that a student is dealing with. But we also try and get the students to do it themselves too, because I think that's a really obviously important thing. We're here to help and guide them so we can help them formulate the question to the professor. But knowing all of the different ways that they can contact a professor is something that I wasn't aware of either. And that I think one of the things that was helpful for me was knowing that you allow them locations to ask questions in multiple ways on Blackboard. So I might even say, hey, look on Blackboard now to see if you can reach out to the professor that way too. So yes and no, kind of put it on them. But then if there are occasions where I need to, yeah, I will.
Good. I was just going to say, anytime you want to email me, feel free to, because I'm going to Ohio it. So it'll just be like, I will be as succinct as possible, but I can help.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Cindy, can you, when this is done, can I stay on and just walk me through how to save what you put on chat? Because I just try to do it. Okay.
Absolutely. Great. All right. Anything else before we go?
Thank you so much. This was wonderful today.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
I love that you Ohio'd my email that said, Ellen, would you be willing to do this for us? And she got back to me like that.
It's just my thing because I have to, because everything overlaps. So yeah. And Cindy, I just wanted to say that you and Lori are doing a great job. I mean, this is a great job. OTL is rocking it. It feels like, good. It feels healthy. It feels participatory. It doesn't feel overwhelming. I don't feel like there's 100,000 emails coming from you guys. I feel like it's the right email at the right time. I think you're dead on. So good work.
We are giving it our best try, right, Lori?
Lori, is your PowerPoint part of the chat too? Because I haven't gotten that.
No, the PowerPoint is not part of the chat because I just have it on my computer. I don't think I can put a PowerPoint in the chat, but it's recorded on this. So I
Okay.
think
Yes.
recording will be accessible. Is that right, Cindy?
Yes, absolutely.
And Nadia, if I can also send it to you over email, but you
Okay,
probably
yeah, that might be easier. I'll send you an email and then you can
Perfect.
Ohio me.
That's right. No problem.
A new verb.
And Lori and Cindy also have a copy of it because I emailed it to them just in case. I always like to do that in case of
Thank
technical.
you so much for doing that. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Excellent. Have a wonderful long weekend.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
everybody
Rosie.
You
enjoy.
too.
Paul, it was so good to see you. Mwah.
You too. I'll see you. Thank you. Ellen, take care. See you. Bye.
Thank you, Ellen.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
So Cindy, if you could just walk me through
Sure, just click chat.
the chat. Also, Lori, hi. Remember me? Yeah, I retired, remember?
You did.
Yeah, I retired in May of 19, but then I got called back and I'm so happy to be back. One class.